Well, good morning, everyone. We'll be started with the Astama Talk Series number 8. Ya, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, pertama-tama terima kasih atas partisipasinya. Dan pagi ini tentu saja kami dari semua panitia Astama Talk mengucapkan minal izin wal faizin terlebih dahulu. Ms. Roksana, so we greet to the participant that today, of course, our greeting is for Eid Mubarak. Mohon maaf lahir dan batin. Mudah-mudahan gitu pada hari ini kita tetap diberikan kondisi yang kebahagiaan dan juga kesejahteraan kita semua. Dan Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, saat ini kita sudah memasuki Astama Talk yang ke-8, di mana yang ke-8 ini banyak sekali gitu ya. Tentu saja pengalaman-pengalaman yang telah kita tempuh sejauh ini. Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, seperti biasa bahwa tentu saja bahwa kami ingin merefresh bahwa Astama Talk ini pada dasarnya, itu pada awalnya kami ingin memberikan sebuah fasilitasi tukar-menukar pengalaman dan pengetahuan, khususnya bagi para sekolah, gitu, baik doktor maupun master. Dan tentu saja hal ini sangat penting dan banyak yang merespon dengan baik bahwa kita semua ingin tahu sebetulnya sampai sejauh mana ilmu pengetahuan khususnya di bidang human resource development dan juga reformasi birokrasi. Dan alhamdulillah kami mendapatkan respon yang sangat baik dan masukan-masukan yang sangat baik juga. Kemudian kalau kita melihat dari tujuan ini adalah kita memfokuskan kepada topik-topik yang sifatnya adalah mengupas leadership, human resource development, dan juga terhadap perkembangan ilmu pengetahuan di bidang itu yang terkini. Dan kita memang diadakannya setiap minggu, dan para speakers akan dipilih gitu ya, dengan topik yang sangat relevan bagi kita semua. Dan sejauh ini partisipan berkembang terus, dan di dalam 2 pertemuan terakhir bahkan ada juga partisipan dari luar negeri di samping para speakernya dari luar negeri. And Bu Roksana, this is our objective. Ini mohon maaf, jadi saya ini ada campur-campur gitu karena dalam 2 terakhir di Astama Talk ini di speaker hadir dari para native dari Thailand dan juga sekarang ini dari Australia. Dari Bu Roksana, the objective of Astama Talk Series, the first is the sharing knowledge for doctoral student and also the postgraduate student, as we all already mentioned before. And the Astama Talk Series bring a series of engaging discussion with a focus on leadership and human resource development, following the latest advancement in knowledge. And this Astama Talks is conducted regularly every week, and the speakers are selected based on the topic to be discussed. And the participant right now is not only from around Indonesia, but also some from the international, like you, and also in previous Astama Talk, we invited from the Philippines and also the Thailand. And the latest maybe will join from our colleagues from the South Korea. And so far, the series of Astama Talks is already number 8. So the first Astama Talks is conducted on 21st January 2024. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, Astama Talk pertama ini dimulai Januari 2024 dan berkembang sampai dengan sekarang. Dan dibuka oleh teman-teman doctoral student dari UGM, seperti ada di sini Mas Roy, kemudian Mas Nur Hakim dari Universitas Indonesia, ada Bu Mutia dari UGM, kemudian ada Ovila dari Universitas Indonesia, lalu Pak Muzakir dari Dubes Republik Indonesia di Philippines, di Manila, lalu Miss Titi Porn dari Thailand, kemudian juga Pak Laude dari Sulawesi Tenggara. Dan saat ini gitu ya, the speaker will be Miss Roksana Khan. Roksana Khan is the head of the government finance and public service performance at Prospera Australia. So I think I also would like to introduce the speakers, our speakers this morning. Ms. Roksana Khan, prior to join the Prospera, she joined for the international relation at the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Jadi mungkin ini BPS-nya Australia gitu ya, where she works across the Pacific, Timor-Leste, and Indonesia. And gitu ya, she graduated for master by research on social policy and applied human science from University of Queensland, Brisbane, Australia. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, kita sangat beruntung bahwa Miss Roksana ini juga merupakan lulusan dari Queensland University di Brisbane, Australia. Dan this topic for this morning will be the future of work performance, the performance management in the civil service. Dan barangkali sebagian besar di kita bahwa bagaimana pengukuran dari kinerja ini jadi sebuah yang penting. Dan ini yang akan di-sharekan atau yang akan sharing knowledge dari Ms. Roksana Khan. Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, tentu saja bahwa kita akan mengulas dari participants, dan so far, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, all the total participants so far from the talk series number 1 up to the last number 7 talk series, total participant is about 3,000 participants. And the background of participants, kita melihat dari list sangat bervariasi. It is very various from the central government, either ministry and institution, and local government across Indonesia, provincial cities and districts, and also the university lecturer and student, and professional. We also indicated our colleagues from industries and also association, and also the international. That is our participants. So I hope that you will be clear for us, especially for our colleagues from the participants anywhere. And this is our rundown. This program is estimated up to 1.5 hours. Dan kami tidak mau menyita waktu Bapak dan Ibu banyak. Yang penting bahwa kita secara reguler gitu ya, mendapatkan sharing session dan untuk update kita bersama setiap minggu. So, Ms. Roksana, our time, this program is estimated up to 1.5 hours, and it is consists of first the opening for 10 minutes will be delivered by me. I am Setiawan Wangsaatmaja, and then after that I give the time to you for presentation for 30 minutes, and after that, if you don't mind, we have some discussion and question and answer. It will take around 40 minutes, and closing for 10 minutes by my mate. And for this program for today, it will be summarized by Mr. Fauzan. Mr. Fauzan is graduated from Leeds University in the UK. Okay, before we start, maybe I should inform to you, Astama Talk can be follow our updates first from Instagram at Astama Talks, and then YouTube, Astama Talk Series, and also WhatsApp. So it is very important that once you join with this, so it means that we will inform you regularly and updated all of the information from us. So that is our introduction and our opening. And now we invite to Ms. Roksana, and the time is yours. Please, Ms. Roksana. Good morning, Ms. Roksana. So
thank you, Pak Setiawan.
Yeah. So this morning, I think you are really fresh and really happy. It looks from your face. Okay.
Thank you, Pa. Good morning, everyone. Selamat pagi, and also greetings from Jakarta, actually. So not from Australia, but obviously, thank you for a very grand introduction, Pak Setiawan. Of course, I worked with Pak Setiawan when he was in Kemenpan RB, and we share many good conversations together. So I'm very pleased today to join this Astama series and to share one of my passion, which is performance management, and discuss about how the public service can engage in this. If I can go to our slides, I think we have a lot of participants. I can see the participant number slowly increasing to 304 at the moment. And one of the participants also texted me, and hopefully she's there from Kemenpan. So I'm very pleased to be talking to a distinguished group of participants as well, who are doing their further studies. And I hope that this will be important for the future of Indonesia's public sector. So with that, I'm not sure, I cannot see the slides, but is the slides already being displayed?
Yeah.
While we are waiting for the slides, it seems, are we waiting for the slides, Pak Iwan, or?
Yeah. Actually, the slide that you, okay. Now, okay.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I guess, you know, we are all being replaced by robots, is the picture. But are we? Is the question. I don't believe so. I think that what the future development of machine learning, AI, all of these will prove that the value of human contribution will continue, you know, and you know, we are still relevant as our human brains are still more powerful than than what we generate. So let me talk about future of work performance. I think that I put a few words there because I think that the context in which we work has changed a lot over the last few years. We are working more flexibly. We are in multi-location. Look at today, Pak Iwan is probably in Bandung, and I'm in Jakarta, and some of you are maybe in different countries or different cities. Another feature of the workforce is that we are quite diverse, and we expect high productive and performance. And of course, we have become a lot more familiar with digital tools and services in order to perform our job. So I guess today I will talk about performance management, but I wanted to also give you the context in which we are working. So what I will cover, next slide, is today I'll cover a little bit about the context for Indonesia's performance management, some issues around current performance management in the new normal, as we were calling it, post-COVID. Then I'll share the performance management framework in Australia, some myths about performance management, and then some future recommendations or suggestions. I think it's probably a better thing to say. Next slide. I'll go through the next slides kind of quickly, and they're not the latest numbers. So as you can see, we did this previously, and so we have to update these slides. But I don't think that the storyline has changed. And that storyline, and mohon maaf, I'm speaking in Bahasa, so if I'm going too fast, tolong tell me and I will slow down a bit. I think performance management also has to be understood around some big concepts like competitiveness. How competitive is Indonesia, and how competitive we are is actually how well performing human resources we have, right? So if we look at that, you know, Indonesia ranked 50th among 141 countries. And when we compared regionally, because of course we don't want to compare with, the more advanced countries if you want, but if we compare even regionally in many areas, Malaysia, Thailand, even Vietnam are ahead in terms of capability, the healthy people and the labor force skills. So that's, I think, one context. The second one is, next slide. So we also talk a lot about, productivity and whether flexible work boosts productivity or lowers productivity, or is it the right thing? A lot of questions around that. I think the ILO study shows that actually flexible work provides a great opportunity for working differently but more productively. And so there's just some numbers there for you to have a look at. And, Indonesia, the private sector has embraced. We interviewed many private sector businesses why they are using flexible work, because they can get more productivity from their workforce by being flexible. I want to cover one other thing in the context. So next slide. Context for women in the public service. So I think that one of the areas that we see for Indonesia is that female leadership is scarce in the Indonesian public sector. So while the news is good in relation to when at the recruitment stage, we have almost equal number of women and men. In fact, women are slightly more represented than men. But when we go up the scales and do a disaggregated analysis of the levels, we find that women are not in the leadership positions. And I think that this is also has some relationship with competitiveness and also like productivity. So, in many ways, the civil service must reflect the society in which we work, but also it must reflect the policies and development by having a more diverse workforce. So I think that's just a quick snapshot of a work that Prospera did on analysis of glass ceiling in the Indonesian civil service. Okay, next slide. Now we're going to get into performance management. So based on the current Peraturan Pemerintah 30 2019, it's kind of moving all in the right direction on paper, at least, in relation to performance management. And it talks about the full cycle, from planning, implementation and monitoring, performance assessment, and a system to manage performance. But there are actually some key things which I'll talk about, which is not mentioned or not really covered, which is the work system, the work culture, and the role of supervisors and the leadership. So that's what I'll focus on in today. So I think you all know your own performance management system and how it sits. The performance management system does not sit alone. It sits in a continuum of career development, talent management, and rewards and penalties. And this is why it will be important to understand that if we want a very productive human resource workforce, then how do we actually implement performance management that is that is working for the organization, for the individual, and also for the management and the leadership. So the next slide, I think it's just a quick mapping of how things have moved in the Indonesian civil service from 2014 to 2019 to now 2023, where new regulations were passed. I won't talk much on this. Just to map that. I think the next slide is really to capture, I think we really do have to capture the lessons from COVID-19. Oops, I don't know what happened there. There's a red line. So the status quo, I think, the COVID-19 really challenged the status quo. It showed the many gaps that exist in our working methods and working system. But few things became clearer. One of the things that became clearer is that, the work can be done from home. Another lesson that we learned is that if we have good supervision, and don't forget that is the human element, and we have good IT systems and technology, we can actually work effectively from anywhere. And the last learning is, let us not go back to the past, but let's take the lessons to incorporate the future of the workplace, and how we manage performance in this future world. So we know what were the gaps, what were the things that were identified when we went to work from home. We didn't have a good supervisor system. We didn't have good IT system. We had very rigid work systems, which actually are counterproductive. And then we have very weak task monitoring and control. And so that then becomes difficult to actually be productive and deliver the outcomes that our government, our leadership wants. Let me now move to the Australian Public Service Management Framework. And I think, again, next slide. Again, I think we will start with the ecosystem, because as I said in the beginning, the performance management is not just one task to do. It is to do once a year or twice a year. It sits within an ecosystem of the work system. And I think the key elements of a good performance management system is to understand, what are we doing? Why are we doing performance management? What is the purpose? So the purpose is really to build a high performance culture, and to build, the agency's performance as well, not just the individual performance, but also the agency performance. And this outcome is dependent on a good talent management system, a good mutual accountability system between supervisors and staff, and an agency that has accountable human resource management team. So a lot of things are interconnected. So if we see the performance management as only one thing, it doesn't actually work. We can make the performance system with a great IT system, but if the people are not participating in it, if the people are not seeing the value from their system, then they don't really participate in that system. So I think here, this is the ecosystem within which the performance management system sits in the Australian public service. Next slide. So the ways to sustain and improve the system. This is just showing something from private sector, McKinsey, how they work. And I think that I won't go through each of these 7, but I think what is really important is the 3 top things, and the public sector should look at adopting this kind of framework. One is creating transparency, so people actually believe that the performance system is working. Involve managers in the solution, so not just the top boss, but also the middle layer. And the third is empower the people. So your staff feeling empowered actually has a great result in terms of both productivity and also contribution to a high-performing team. So these things actually together give a very potent result in relation to performance in the agency. Next slide. So in the Australian public service system, the way the performance management system is developed. So this is the how, right? We in Indonesia, we have the regulation, but the how, people are actually receiving training on how to manage the performance system. And when I say people, I mean senior leaders, supervisor, and the employee. So each party understands what is their role in engaging in this performance conversation. It's called the performance conversation. But if I don't know how I'm supposed to engage in the performance conversation with my staff, and the staff doesn't know how they should engage with me in my role as a supervisor, then the conversation is not good, right? We don't understand what we are supposed to say to each other in order to be effective. So I think the senior leaders, I'm talking about the echelon ones, must foster the right culture to encourage best behaviors. They are responsible for promoting a culture in which performance is at the forefront. And I think I didn't say it here, but it is also their role to identify where people are not performing or even if it is a small thing that they do wrong, it should be still discussed. If you don't discuss it and just keep it like you don't want to raise it, then basically at the end of the day, it's not going to result in a good workplace, right? Then the supervisor. So supervisor is in the middle. So this is what we call in Australia the middle managers. The middle managers are a very critical role in the process. They can make the staff be high performing. They communicate up to the leadership. They communicate down to the staff. So this particular group is one that needs a lot of attention, both from management and the leadership of the whole organization, because they are the kunci to a high-performing staff culture and a high-performing agency. So this is really important. They should receive actually training on how to do performance management and conversations well. And then the employees, who are, of course, the bread and butter of the organization. We call it in Australia. Obviously, in Indonesian, it should be nasi and not bread and butter. The employees need the right support to do their work. They need clear, realistic expectation and honest feedback on outcomes. Employees need an ecosystem where they can feel confident about giving and receiving feedback, remain flexible and adaptable, and are empowered to facilitate conversations which affect their careers and the requirements of their role. So this is a really important aspect of performance management, which cannot be regulated. Regulations don't always answer everything, and a lot of it is in the culture and the work system that we want to promote. Next slide. So let me talk about a few myths and facts about performance management. So some people think performance management is a rule-based approach, and this will solve the problem. If you have a lot of rules, you tell the staff must come in at 7:30, go home at 4, lunch at 12, blah, blah, blah. This is actually going to help, how people perform. The other one, which is unfortunately panacea to everything, is IT system. So develop a good IT system for performance management, and this will improve performance, identify the poor performers, and just solve everything. Well, unfortunately, if IT systems could do everything, then you and we don't need to be here. We can just leave it to the IT system. So I think that's another issue. Another belief system is performance management can be done, once a year. So once a year, I sit down with the staff and say, hey, you did a good job, and that's it. No, the continued communication about whether you're doing well or not so well is really important to people, right? It's the same thing as the child development. When you're raising your child, you really are focused on giving them the right environment and the positive feedback for them to grow and learn and be the individual that you want them to be. The last one is, is performance management is about telling employees what they don't have. So, let's tell them that you can't write well or you can't do this well. Well, yes and no. I mean, it's the way you communicate about it. So it's all about sort of, it is actually the supervisor's role to help that employee improve the weaknesses they have or the shortcomings they have. So the fact is, it is a continuous process. The agency, leadership, and supervisors are key actors, and employees are just one actor. And by having a work system that has a good performance planning system, a good performance implementing system, and monitoring is not something like, you sit one day and monitor, but it's what you monitor every day as you are working with your team. Hey, did we get the papers done? Did we finish the the research our boss asked us to do in time? These are all regular everyday things that are actually part of the performance. Performance appraisal you could be doing in an annual way, that's fine, but it's not a surprise. If you've talked to your staff, if you have been engaged with the staff and your supervisor, it's a really easy process to do the appraisal, even if it's once a year. The follow-ups being regular is really important, and of course at the end there would be also some rewards. These rewards don't have to be monetary necessarily. They can be acknowledgement, they can be organizational nominations. There are many ways to reward people. People are, of course, money is one of the rewards, but it's not the only. And that's something that really needs some thoughts on. And how do we actually have a work system that rewards people in different ways? Next slide. I'm almost getting there, and I know that I'm sorry you have to listen in English. And I saw somebody said, can we have the slides in Bhasa? Definitely, we can talk to Astama group and see we can do that. So in the future recommendations, let's go to what is an effective performance management then after all this. Next slide. So I think there are, 4 things that are, part of the effective management. Number 1 is a combination of employees' career journey, workplace culture that facilitates that journey. A second aspect is a high performance culture within the organization. Managing that number 3, and we didn't talk a lot about this, but managing underperformance effectively. So sometimes people are not performing because the job is not well matched with their skills or their personality type. So as a supervisor, it is our role to ensure that people are well matched with the job. No one comes into work and says, I'm going to be really bad. I'm just not going to do my work. I'm just going to sit here. I mean, maybe there's a very small percentage of individuals who might be like that, but most people will perform well given a positive encouragement, positive environment, and also a good match between their skills, interpersonal and professional, and the job that they are asked to do. So I think we really need to explore underperformance in a very different way to how the public service often does it. And I guess the practical tips are recruit well. That's your chance to get the right people with the right skills in the agency in the first place. Establish an expectation of the high performance that you are expecting from your staff and your leadership. So not just the staff, leadership as well. And make sure employees, understand well what is the context in which they are working, what is their code of ethics, what is the code of the agency. All of these, are really important. And please invest in the supervisors. In Australia, the supervisor is not allowed to supervise until they go through a training on how to supervise people. So it's really important that the supervisor is not just because they have done a PhD in, I don't know, nuclear science, that means they must be a good supervisor. Probably they are going to be the worst supervisor. Often people who are studying a lot are not the best communicators or supervisors. And this is actually, there are studies around that. All right, next slide. I'm going to finish quickly. Next slide. So I think the new ISAN UU and its impacts, I think the thing that's missing is what I've put towards the bottom. I think that, this is an opportunity. The new ISAN, obviously the Australian public sector, its culture, its regulation are different compared to Indonesia. So there are certain things you can take from it, certain lessons you can take from that another system, whether it's Korea or Australia or Japan. But at the end of the day, you have to, look at what is workable in your system, what is your, work culture. And so this is important, and I think one of the things the UU and the performance UU regulation doesn't really address well is that the supervisor and the senior leadership play a key role in creating a positive and rewarding performance culture. So I always say performance is basically like, I don't know about you, I have 2 boys, and I'm very pleased they have turned out quite well. I didn't have too much trouble with them. But, it's about if you are raising children, you are very quickly aware how to manage them because you don't want them to become rebellious or, problematic in school. So as a parent, you are really aware, how should I guide these children to be like this, like this, like this, right? You have a kind of value system in your head. And so the same actually applies in the workplace, as a senior leader and supervisors, we need to know how do we want our staff to be? And this is how it will be if we don't give the investment in the upfront and set the boundaries and the expectation and how we will measure them, what rewards we will give them. Of course, people will not, behave. That's the human behavior element. Next slide. So just to summarize, how to boost productivity through positive performance management. I think that we need to keep in mind the productivity element, what are we doing the performance management for? And of course, we have rules about work hours, many kinds of rules about breaks. How do we encourage these to be taken and appreciated and supported? Like, don't make your staff work through lunch hour. Make sure staff are able to do their job within the limits that are set, which is 8 hours a day. They should not be working 10 hours a day. I always say if somebody is working 10 or 11 hours a day, either their job is too big for them or they have some performance issue, a performance management issue in relation to, how to manage their day in terms of the work. The breaks is very important. We all need breaks, in our work. And one of the parts of the breaks is, don't disappear, be responsive and responsible. That's staff and supervisors. And of course, the biggest one is, communications. We need to, this is a, little cartoon to show the kid was obviously looking for the mom and the mom is hiding in the cupboard. So do talk to your staff, keep them informed, both up the line and below the line. And of course, balancing work and other responsibilities. We all have other responsibilities. So I think the next slide is basically saying thank you to Pak Setiawan and everyone for listening. And I hope to answer some of your questions today. And I hope it was useful to share this presentation with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Roksana Khan. And I think it was really interesting. And of course, all participants can also give you a big applause, I think. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, demikian barangkali apa yang tadi disampaikan oleh Ibu Roksana. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian nanti bisa, teman-teman semua gitu ya, bisa merespon barangkali kira-kira apa sih yang ingin diketahui dari kita semua gitu ya, dan mungkin komparasi yang telah disampaikan tadi. Tapi ada beberapa hal yang penting, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, bahwa kalau kita melihat competitiveness index, bahwa kita ini posisinya adalah di ranking 50 dari 141, artinya bahwa kita memang harus terus bisa meningkatkan gitu ya terkait dengan competitiveness ini. Dan seiring dengan itu kita pun melihat dari survei ILO gitu ya, kurang lebih bahwa enterprise kita, perusahaan-perusahaan tidak lebih banyak gitu ya yang menggunakan fasilitas untuk flexible works arrangement gitu ya, kalau dibanding dengan di negara-negara Pasifik lainnya. Nah, oleh karena itu barangkali Ms. Roksana, thank you very much. I just short summarize that your presentation to maybe to give some inspire gitu to the participant to maybe to give a response to you. Saya persilakan Bapak dan Ibu sekalian untuk kesempatan pertama, mungkin ada yang raise hand. Saya melihat di sini, ada nggak? Coba cek. Ya, Mr. Zaki. Please, Mr. Zaki.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Setiawan, Ibu Roksana. Very good and very interesting presentation. But from all the topic that you're already convey, I really interested in the flexible working arrangement that became popular in Indonesia, and particularly for West Java province. And from one of your slide presented before, it is all the myth mentioning that we cannot have flexible working arrangement until we have fixed performance system for ISN. Considering that today we also entering the period of transition, maybe from our perspective, from Islamization to functional position in Indonesia, that required some adaptation for some particular job that used to be performed in period previous period, and also influenced by maybe millennials, civil servants today that also have their own style. And also you mentioning that performance indicators or performance in public sector also influenced by the culture created by all the leaders, either senior leaders in particular that creating their cultures. I would like to know about your opinion in particularly for the flexible working arrangement to be more productive, in particularly in the period of transition today. Yeah, because again, that the working culture really determined by leadership, either in top level until middle level. But today, for the middle until the lower level of leadership becomes new form, not rely on the structural leadership that used to be designed before under the previous structures under initiation from echelon 2, 3 until 4. And today, based on the theme of team, I would like to know your opinion how to maintain the flexible working arrangement to be more effective. And of course, you already mentioned some of the clue, like a good IT system, and also best performance management system. But I would like to know your further in-depth opinion about this transition and the flexible working arrangement, because we, of course, would like to pursue high performance based on their task and responsibility in many part of job in civil service, particularly for local government. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pak Zaki. Thank you so much for your question. So I think in terms of any transitions, it's really important to plan what is the transition that you're facing, right? And how to actually communicate and let your teams know what's going on, right? In terms of the flexible work, I think that, in Australia, we have a flexible working system for many years now. Since COVID, before it was like maybe some ministry really adopt, other ministry maybe not so much. But after COVID, it's almost 80% of the government ministries have flexible work that they offer to their staff. I have to say that it's not free for all. So flexible work is for the staff who already demonstrate that they are committed, reliable, they perform well. It is not directly offered to people who are not performing well. Although one of the criteria is the supervisor is not just allowed to say, no, you can't get flexible work, because they have to discuss it with a more senior person than the supervisor first and decide. So why is that? Because sometimes people have bias, right? We are human beings, we have bias. So it could be that, okay, I don't like Pak Zaki for whatever reason. And if you ask me for for flexible work, I will just say, oh, no, you can't get flexible work, right? So in order to make sure that the decision is not being made just from the supervisor's own head, before saying no to someone, they have to have the conversation with the higher one. So if it is, say, just for example, I am your supervisor and Pak Iwan is my boss, then I must talk to Pak Iwan and say, Pa, I don't want to approve Zaki for his flexible work because I have this concern. Then Pak Iwan will be asking me, what are you doing about those concerns? Are you helping him to make sure that he can improve himself so this concern is no longer there? So this is the approach in our public service. It is not, that's what we call a positive performance culture, that we are not immediately sort of saying, okay, it's my opinion, Zaki not doing a good work, but is the supervisor also being able to see what is my reason? What have I done to help you improve? What assessment have I made? Like, is it the job is not matched with your education or your background? Or have I given the opportunity to Zaki to work in a different area? Maybe he can perform a lot better in that area, maybe not in this area. So it is not something just up to me as the kind of supervisor. There is kind of like a check-in process. So it's really important I think the flexible work is like a tool. The major issue is doesn't matter flexible. Some people is sitting in front of you and not working. So it's not about flexible work actually, right? Like some people coming to work on time and leaving on time, but not delivering any outcome. It's also no problem, right? So I think the flexible work is just the tool. The issue is, how do we manage people, right? How do we manage people? How do we have the hard conversation and the not so hard conversations? How do we reward something? So people always will act to a positive thing, right? So even if there is a Pak Zaki and his friend who is also working in the same place, but if his friend is doing really good work, then it's also the supervisor should acknowledge, hey, you did really good. Then it gives message to you, if I do this like this, then I'm also going to be recognized, you see. So it's the work culture is also important. So I think that's in short, in flexible work. I will have to say, yesterday we also had a meeting with the Ministry of Finance, and because they were saying we have implemented flexible work, but I also wanted to ensure that flexible work is not about working any time of the day from, because in the Ministry of Finance, they have a lot of mental health problems sometimes, because people are expected to work at 10 p.m., at 11 p.m., come to a meeting, that's not flexible work. So flexible work is, doing your 8 hours differently. That's one way of describing it. Yeah. It's not doing 20 hours or 10 hours in addition to your normal day of work. That's not flexible work. Thank you so much for your question, Pak Zaki.
Thank you so much, Bu Roksana. Thank you, Pak Setiawan.
Oke, thank you very much, Pak Jaki. Ya, teman-teman, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, bahwa memang tadi intinya Bu Roksana menyampaikan bahwa sebetulnya di dalam meningkatkan produktivitas ini, khususnya dalam performance ini, bahwa memang harus kita bangun sebuah culture yang barangkali yang mungkin kalau Kang Zaki tadi kan menanyakan bahwa saat ini kita sudah ada penyederhanaan birokrasi yang biasanya culture struktural gitu ya menjadi fungsional. Tetapi kalau Bu Roksana juga menyampaikan bahwa sebetulnya ini semua level punya peran gitu ya, dari mulai senior leaders, kemudian supervisor dan employee sendiri. Dan supervisor ini kalau saya tadi mendengar bahwa itu mempunyai peran yang sangat penting gitu ya. Jadi supervisor ini mungkin di kita apa ya, eselon 3 barangkali gitu ya, sebelum eselon 2. Jadi middle manager. Nah, middle managers ini tentu saja kalau disampaikan bahwa itu harus betul-betul bisa mempunyai fungsi for promoting dan fostering effective performance, dan oleh karena itu ada pelatihannya lah kurang lebih gitu. Nah, ini juga disampaikan oleh Ibu Evi dari BRIN di dalam chat room bahwa itu sangat fair gitu ya kalau seumpamanya supervisor itu diberikan pelatihan. Dan tadi disampaikan juga bahwa terkait dengan budaya untuk flexible working arrangement, ini juga harus betul-betul selektif. Nah, ini yang harus hati-hati Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, teman-teman semua, bahwa flexible working arrangement ini tentu saja bahwa harus dibutuhkan komitmen gitu ya dari para employee-nya. Kemudian juga kita memberikan itu yang benar-benar kalau Bu Roksana menyampaikan bahwa reliable employee dan juga yang performing well. Jadi yang memang sudah berkinar dengan baik. Jadi management ini menjadi salah satu penting. So Bu Roksana, I a little bit summarize your talk gitu with Mr. Zaki, and thank you very much for that. Okay, now I also indicated that Mr. Agi also raise hand, please, Mr. Agi.
Yes, thank you, Pak Setiawan, and thank you, Ibu Roksana, for your inspiring presentation. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Agi. I'm the Secretary of ICT Department, and as the middle manager, I could feel what are you presented previously. And my question is regarding my position as the middle manager. So we are in the middle between our bosses and our staffs, which is the technical aspects, and it's quite dynamic how to handle the communication between the bosses, the strategic with the technical aspect. For example, is in some cases the bosses want to deliver like the digital product really fast. And if we discuss with the technical aspect, it's not really convenient and deliverable if we produce the digital product really fast, because we need to consider many things, the security aspect, the user friendliness, etc. So regarding those situations, is there any tips and tricks from your perspective how to manage the communication and to handle the tension between communication from the strategic and the technical aspect for all of us as the middle manager? Thank you, Ibu Roksana.
Sure, Pak Agi, it's a very, very good question. And that is really, I didn't mention it, but one of the tricks, as you say, or the tip, is when you are a middle manager, you're kind of the translator. So obviously you are in middle management because you can understand the strategic view from the supervisor. And so then it is about translating that strategic view into action that are actionable for your teams, who may not understand the strategic view, or they may not even be interested sometimes, you know. But it is the role of the supervisor to translate and find the element that resonates with the staff, and be able to say, okay, if you do this task, this means this means the cascading, you know, how is something going, you know, helping. So it's really important that everyone, even the person who is your team assistant or your secretary, understands that, you know, this is important because of this. So they can see at least one level up from their action. And that helps them to understand, okay, I'm doing something valuable, because what I do here, that means somebody in the organization will use it like this, and then I will, this is what I'm contributing to, you know. So I think that's one thing. The second thing I suggest is, you know, I'm not sure how in Indonesia teams work, but in Australia, every team would have, you know, team meeting, and they would have other things to make the teams, you know, have some social time. So, you know, whether it's lunch out together, or if it was a busy period, you got a lot of work done, then maybe just have a 2-hour lunch, you know, and it's fine, or go home early one day, something that is in your power to do, right? So it is in your power to tell your staff, hey, today we will finish work Friday at lunchtime, and then everybody go home and do your own work from home, because you did a very hard job this week, and we all got there because of all of us contributing. So here it's just, you know, take a little bit of slack, we call it. Take a bit of slack. It's not giving them, you know, all the time that slack, but at, you know, at special points when people have worked really hard, just let them have a bit of break, you know. But on the other hand, if somebody is not really pulling their what we call in Australia their weight, you know, the by that I mean they are not contributing 110% for that week, because whatever, they just couldn't be bothered, or they don't care, whatever the reason is, then I would have a conversation and say, hey, this week we were all really under the pump. We had to do all this because our boss wants this. Then how do we actually communicate to that person, I don't see you lari-lari as much as the others. Why? What is your issue? Like, are you not well? Are you don't you agree with where we are going? About the direction? You know, it's important to have that conversation, not to just say, oh, I know that I have 5 team members, 4 of them really working hard with me, 1 of them is not, I can see, but I don't say anything. So that way 2 things happen. One, you find out what is the issue. Could be that they actually don't like working in this team. That doesn't mean you are bad. That doesn't mean they are bad, but maybe they need to go somewhere where they will find a more match between what they want to do. And, you know, it's not always a perfect solution. There are, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't problem situations. We are dealing with human beings. Of course, there are problem situations. But I'm saying that in majority of times, you can find a solution when you talk to the person, and you understand where they're coming from, not just where you're coming from. And then it is part of your middle manager's role to find a win-win solution between the problem you see and the person's issues, and you try to find that win-win solution. So actually, the hardest job is being a middle manager. So you're doing a great job, Pak Agi. So, you know, you're asking the right questions. So that's a start. So yeah, I hope that answers some of your questions.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So I mentioned before that the middle manager has, I think, very heavy responsible. So that's why in the middle manager should have good in communication competencies. I think Bu Roksana, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope something like that. And of course, besides the communication, we also indicate from your respond that the strategical thinking also competencies should also have prominent in middle managers. I think that is that is the key, I think. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, middle managers ini kalau kita dengar mempunyai peran yang cukup penting dan berat, kurang lebih gitu. Tadi Pak Agi ini sebagai sekretaris dinas yang mempunyai peran gitu ya, bagaimana win-win dapat dari seorang sekretaris dinas, dan mungkin Bapak dan Ibu sekalian di sini juga ada yang mengalami hal yang sama. Okay, next I show that Ibu Evi from BRIN, Republic of Indonesia, maybe also respond in chat room. There are 26 in chat room. Bu Roksana has already responded to you.
I saw a lot. I see one question from Piki.
Yes, yeah. But before that, I think Ibu Evi maybe ada di sini.
Okay.
Yeah, halo Pak Iwan. Saya lagi di jalan.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm still in my way to office. Ms. Roksana, thank you so much for your nice presentation and insightful. Actually, I have one quick question. Is there any kind of functional positions or professional position in Australian public services, and how you guys maintain about their performance management? Since our new Permenpan regarding the performance management, or also we call it as SKP, which is applied normal distributions assessment, I think it's kind of silly, because if our supervisor doesn't know how to supervise the people or to measure the appraisal of the performance, the result will be kind of contradictory. So I would like to hear from you your experience, how the APC or APS measure the performance of the functional person or professional person like researcher or auditors, because currently they treat us just like ordinary staff instead of professional one. Thank you, Pak Iwan and Bu Roksana. I would like to take my taxi. Thank you, bye.
Sure,
okay.
No problem.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Bu Roksana, yeah.
Okay, so I think I am aware, since the delayering from echelon 3 and 4 to functional positions, this has created a lot of issues, right? Because the performance management system for functional is different to structural positions. In Australia, we don't have any difference between the performance management system between people who are what we call the professional stream. We don't call them functional. We call them professional, like auditors, researchers, chief finance officer, IT professionals, a lot of different professionals. We do have like a functional type of role, but everybody follows the one system of performance management. So that's why you can move easily from the position of a chief finance officer to becoming in the structure position, which is like SES band 2 or band 1. You can move easily because it's the same measure for performance. So the idea is that in each of your profession, whether it is researcher or auditor, are you doing a good job? And that is measured in the same way, which is around, do you meet your agency goals? Do you meet your team goals? Do you meet your, are you a good communicator? Are you a good team player? So these are the generic measures that is used so that whether you are in the professional or technical kind of stream, or you are in the managerial administrative stream, it is the same. Are you a good team leader, even if you are managing your IT team, like we had Pak Agi before, or you are managing a finance team? It's the measurement of the performance is the same. So I think that this is one misalignment, if you like, currently still existing, because the UU ASN distinguish the performance management or the credit system for functional position differently to structural position. And really there needs to be a closer alignment between these two streams. When it comes to managerial functions, it's the same. The research or the work you do in the functional position should be aligned with your team goals or agency objectives. It's not I'm doing research on something that I like or I think is important. It's got to be something that is important for the agency overall goal. So I think that's kind of, I can't solve that, but in Australia, we have the one performance system.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Bu Roksana, and also thank you very much itu Bu Evi, gitu ya, yang telah merespon. Dan tentu saja bahwa sebetulnya yang tadi disampaikan Bu Roksana bahwa jabatan struktural dan juga jabatan fungsional harus align gitu ya, harus sesuai dengan target-target dari unit organisasinya. Ini yang penting saya rasa. Okay, next I also found that Ibu Sofia Agustini. Are you here?
Yes, good morning, Pak Iwan.
Okay, ya. Ibu audionya agak pelan ya, Bu.
Oh, okay. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sofia Agustini. I work for Bandung Human Resource Development Agency. Before I ask that question, I would like to send you Bapak Izin, Bapak Iwan, and Miss Roksana, salam from my boss, Bapak Adi Junjunan Mustafa. He told me, he asked me to
I think Bu
send you the
Roksana,
salam.
know very well ya, Pak
Yes,
Adi Junjunan.
Bapak Adi Junjunan. He's my boss now.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Give him my regards as well.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. My question is, I'm interested in performance planning. As you said before, Ms. Roksana, that in performance planning, leader and the staff or supervisor and staff have to do the performance conversation. I believe that the performance conversation is one of the most important in performance planning. But the condition now, the leader or the supervisor, they do not know their role and do not know how to do the conversation. So maybe they think that it's just formality, hanya formalitas. So sometimes they don't do that in performance planning. So do you have any advice about this situation, or do you have any experience about this? So the performance conversation can be done effectively. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good morning.
So I think in terms of, two things. One is having that supervisor training on how to manage performance conversations and how to plan for them. Even in a small place like Prospera, it's not really like a government institution. We actually have different supervisors with different ways where they don't have the conversation, some of them. Yeah. So the leadership actually now is really institutionalizing the process. So they actually ask each supervisor under oops, there's somebody with their
Clicking.
Yeah, mute. Can you go on mute, somebody? So it's important that the leadership team always asks have you finished your performance conversations? Did you allocate the time to have the conversation or not, you know? And then in the annual process, they really have to actually fill the form and things like that in order to ensure that the conversation takes place. And so in our performance system, we have the staff will do their own self-assessment. And then the supervisor will do their assessment, and then they will sit together and compare. If it was, you know, different from their own assessment and the supervisor assessment, if it is similar, if anything is, maybe the staff forgot, sometimes you don't realize what you do is appreciated by others. So ensure that this is captured during the performance discussion. And so on. So I think that, you know, institutionalizing the conversation is really important. And the leadership team actually asking, again, I take the example, I'm the supervisor, you are the staff, and Pak Iwan is my boss. Then Pak Iwan asking me, did you meet with Sophia, Agi, Zaki, blah, blah, blah. These are in your team. What was the result of the conversation? What were the key things the staff are happy about, not happy about, what direction they don't understand? Then I have to say, because I can't just make it up, right? So I have to have those conversations with my staff to be able to report to Pak Iwan that this is the conversation I had, and this is what Sophia said, this is what Zaki said, this is what somebody else said, right? So it's really important that this time is allowed. It's not just work, but it's a bit like if you live in a house and if you just come in, eat, go out to work, come in, then the house will fall apart. There's nobody cleaning it, nobody ensuring that there is supplies in the house. The work team is the same, right? You have to have time for all the things that you need to do to maintain a good working atmosphere. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
good question.
Okay. Before Mr. Nur Hakim will give some 10 questions actually in chat room, but I will give the opportunity first to the Pak Didi Kurniadi maybe.
Hello.
Didi Kurniadi. Yeah, you are here.
Hello.
Okay.
Good morning, Mrs. Roksana. Thank you for the opportunity. Okay. Please introduce. My name is Didi Kurniadi Halim. I am a doctoral student in DSM ITB actually, and my research focus is on also in public sector performance management. And maybe we can collaborate next time. Miss.
Sure.
What I want to ask is regarding every government organization have long-term plans. We call RGPP maybe in Indonesia.
Yes, I know. Yes.
Yeah. How we can align the responsibility to achieve the objective in RGPP with the main job of every organization? Because when I try to research in ministry organization where is there my subject of research, there is a different target between RGPP and with the organization main job actually. And the second question is, what is the preferred framework for performance management? We know there are many performance management framework in the world, such as balance scorecard, performance vision, and other framework. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Didi. Yeah.
Thank you. I think this is a very, very good question as well. In fact, we are doing exactly the same thing because we do also work with the Ministry of Health. on a different topic, not performance management, but actually ensuring, given post-COVID, we need to make sure the health system is really learning from those lessons of COVID and getting prepared for future pandemics. We actually looked at this issue you just raised between the 5-year and 20-year plan, and how does it cascade to the agency goals and agency. So I believe this is actually a critical gap in the Indonesian civil service. And it's actually, it is the job, as you know, each civil service agency or ministry has a planning bureau, rencana something, the planning bureau. It is the job of the planning bureau to actually link the Renstra for the agency to the objectives, higher level objectives in the RPJM. So for example, let's say in Vision 2045, it says that Indonesia longevity of the population will increase. Right now, I can't remember the exact data, but something like the death rate is somewhere around 72, for Indonesia. And the Vision 2045 is to increase it to 80, right? By 2045, Indonesians will live longer. It's the outcome. If this is the outcome, then who are the responsible ministries and agencies to deliver on this outcome, and how? So this is actually a very important task that these planning bureaus should be doing, and cascading this and then cascading further. So what is the responsibility of the unit? Let's say taking health, if we are going to increase longevity, that means many things. We need to improve how we eat, what we eat. We need to improve prevention and identification of various health issues, whether you're almost becoming diabetic or not. So you know what I mean? Like, so different units from primary healthcare to secondary to nutrition, they are all the units that will have to contribute a goal to reach this 2045 vision of Indonesia, Indonesians living until the age of 80 average, right? If we are to increase this average. So similarly, it depends on which ministry you are from, what is the cascading part? It's, and then how do you cascade to the team unit? So in my unit, if I'm doing, if my unit is on nutrition, then what are the different goals of each of the echelon 2 in that unit or echelon 3 in that unit? So this is, I think, I think you said you are doing your PhD. I think it would be really good if you can practically come up with a kind of, a way to identify the cascade, because in Australia we have to do this cascade. We have each government will come with their new priorities, and Indonesia is about to face that with a new president. So what is the new president's priority, and what is my ministry's contribution or my agency's contribution to this priority, and how is this cascading down to the person who is working there? I hope this helps. It's a big topic. I'm answering in a few minutes.
Yeah, sure. This is a big topic for me.
Okay,
Maybe
thank you very much.
I will contact you later.
Sure, Pa. All right.
Okay, good networking, I think. Okay, next I also indicated from our chat room, we have Ibu atau Bapak Rolowi Sembiring from South Kalimantan. Are you here? Bapak atau Ibu Rolowi Sembiring?
But I think his question is, what is the recommendation is already in my slide.
Yeah,
so
it's already, okay.
To Pak Rolowi.
Yeah, okay. Now is Pak Rudi Kresna, are you here? Pak Rudi Kresna? Okay. Maybe Pak Andriawan? Okay, if it is not, maybe Kang Nur Hakim, you want to read all the questions that already mentioned in our chat room?
I noticed there is one from Anna.
Anna, okay.
Um,
Let me see first from.
So how the Australian government pay attention to working mothers in relation to this performance? The same way for everybody
Kang Nur
else.
Hakim already summarized all the questions
Oh,
from the
I
chat
see,
room.
I see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First from Ayuning. What is Ms. Roksana's recommendation for the character aspect obstacles in performance management implementation? I think that is the question. As characters is a never-ending process matters, cannot solve by rule-based performance management role. Thank you. Can you respond number one, Ms. Roksana?
Yeah, I think we will run out of time because I have another meeting in 5 minutes,
Okay.
but I'll try.
Okay.
I'll try. I think that this is, I don't know what do they mean by the characters. I'm assuming the matter is related to, interpersonal skill difference, right? I can be very vocal, somebody else very polite, then we have a clash. I don't know if this is what is this question's meaning. It's not clear to me. It is true. As I said in the presentation, rules-based performance management is not complete. It doesn't work because we are talking about human beings. So we have to have the human element, not just the rule. So I think the recommendation I have for Ayuning is really understand the obstacle from both, not just your perspective, but also the person's perspective, the person who is being the obstacle. Because we have to understand things from each other in order to find the solution. Of course, I might see somebody as being difficult or argumentative. And then I also have to assess, why is my reaction like that? Why do I feel angry or annoyed because somebody asked some question or they ask it very strongly? I also have a role to understand what is my issue, what is their issue. So I think that this kind of issue can be solved if we are brave enough to open up and have a conversation with the person and say, hey, when you ask the question like that in the meeting to me, I didn't like it. I feel like you are attacking me, or whatever the feeling is. So we do need to get to that, but this is a workplace. So it's also important to remain professional. When you are a supervisor or whatever, it is your role to remain professional. You cannot make things personal, personal in the way, oh, I really don't like this person because every time they laugh very loudly or something, like that. So I think the real message from me is please encourage professional behavior and expectation, and also be brave enough to have the conversation to understand the other person. Maybe they also react to somehow the way you communicate. You don't know that, right? Until you talk to someone. That would be my answer, Pakiwan.
Yes, okay. Okay, I think some of the questions already also responded by you. And
yes.
Yeah, and as I know that you have another meeting at 10 o'clock, so that's why now time is running out. So we have to end up right now. But before that, we would like to give to you regarding the certificate first, e-certificate for Ms. Roksana.
Thank you.
This is our certificate awarded to you. Thank you very
so
much, Ms. Roksana. And also all the participants we also distributed the certificate to all participants too, Ms. Roksana. And before you are leaving, so we will take a photograph together. So please open your camera for our remembrance. And please, Mr. Andre, can you conduct to us for this?
Okay, Pak. Oke, Bapak Ibu, kita akan foto bersama. Mohon untuk nyalakan kameranya dan melihat ke arah kamera. Di sini kita ada 3 slide. Kita akan mulai dari slide yang pertama. Oke, siap. Hitungan ketiga. 1, 2, 3. Slide kedua. Hitungan 3. 1, 2, 3. Baik. Dan yang terakhir, slide ketiga. 1, 2, 3. Ya, terima kasih Bapak Ibu semua.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, Ms. Roksana, the last but not least, we also will give you about the summary of our talks for this morning. So Pak Fauzan will deliver about the summarize to us. Please, Mr. Fauzan, you will give by for 3 minutes maybe, because Ms. Roksana at 10 should be leaving.
Okay, a warm thank you for our moderator first, Mr. Setiawan, and our esteemed speaker, Mrs. Roksana Khan from Prospera, and all the participants, including the throwing of questions to enrich our event in their diverse insight in a very good conversation and discussion. The first thing I want to summarize these points on this Astama Talks. The first mention from the Mrs. Roksana is about Indonesian Competitive Index and ILO reports that Indonesia has a 5th rank among 141 countries. And the second thing is about the situation for women in public service in Indonesia, which is very interesting topic. The female labor force to participation is lower than that man. It's very interesting discussion further. And the third is about the civil service performance management in Indonesia. Is about to many critics on the performance assessment, ineffective system, lack of system and everything. And the third one is about the COVID pandemic insight for Indonesia work system has incandescent gaps that work system in Indonesia presenting opportunity for the country to adapt more future and oriented for work practices. And next is about the performance ecosystem. And also we look about the Australian public service performance system had many role for each role for the supervisor, for the senior leadership and employee support. And the next is about need and facts about performance management. However, the performance management is actually continuous and collaborative process involving leadership, supervisors, and employees. And the next is about the ISN, the new policy that these policies aim to reform the enhance expertise, responsive, and motivate the Indonesian public sector to be more enriched on the talent management. And the last one is how to boost productivity through positive performance. This is very good tip, and also how to more enrich our productivity. But last but not least, I have 7 critical takeaways. The first one is about leadership as cornerstone. The effectiveness of performance management system significantly on the quality of the leadership, of course. The second one is about continuous process, not on the event. Performance management should be viewed as continual, year-round process that integrates goal setting, feedback, and professional development, rather than an annual review focused solely on evaluating past performance. The third one is about enhancing employee engagement. Employee engagement is crucial for effective performance management. Engaged employees are more likely to contribute positively, and their input is vital for refining performance metric and goals. And the fourth is about technological integration. We know in Indonesia is very keen about the digital transformation. There is an emphasis that need for improved technology system that facilitate real-time feedback, goal tracking, and flexible working arrangement. It's very popular right now, especially in the context of the shift towards remote working. the pandemic, past pandemic, post pandemic. And 5 is about benchmarking against best practice. We know that in Australia and Indonesia, to compare the importance of comparing Indonesian civil service with the international standards, such as those Israel that mentioned in this discussion, to identify gaps and opportunity for improvement. The 6 is about adaptability and flexibility. The pandemic underscored the need for performance management systems that are adaptable and to sudden change in working condition and employee needs, suggesting that flexibility should be a core aspect for any future reforms. And the 7 is about the legislative support. Of course, the latest ISN policy that is mentioned in this discussion could be a pivotal in transforming performance management, pointing to the need for policy that support continuous improvement and adaptation of performance management frameworks. This is all the critical takeaways could be shared and will be further discussion. It's very interesting topic to more enrich and very nice topic. Thank you, Mrs. Roksana, of course, and Mr. Setiawan for the time and the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Fauzan. That is very great, and we also will distribute this summarized to everyone, and also, of course, to Ms. Roksana. Again, we thanks to Ms. Roksana for for your join with us with Astama Talk, and also everyone, the participant also wish you. We thanks to you all, and I hope that you will also can join with the next Astama Talks. Thank you very much, Ms. Roksana,
Thank you,
and
Pak.
let's
See
continue
you
your
next
activities.
time. See you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Terima kasih
Bye.
semuanya. Terima kasih semuanya.
Bye.
Nanti kita akan bagikan semuanya. Ya, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.